All right, let's get into it. What time we got? 10:45 on the 5th of February. So quite an action-packed night overnight, and yeah, I was sort of up. I don't know till maybe 3 o'clock or something like this. I think by the time I actually sort of went to bed, but yeah, certainly it was sort of sometimes it's not really worth it, but in this case it certainly sort of was. So look, metals with the sort of the big mover DXY obviously moving a bit there. We got a couple of little sort of lower level breakouts with Aussie. So a whole bunch of sort of stuff happening overnight. But I think look, best place to start is with metals because gold and silver really kicked on last night, and as we can see, gold this whole sort of calendar year, since we had that breakout of this triangle, has just been absolutely on a rip roar in that. I mean, we all know that. We know that gold's been punching up higher, starting to put in new all-time highs. A couple of points that I want to sort of point out, though, are this big band through here. This resistance that obviously put in that top when it was at back end of October, where we saw that monster sell down. And I said, look, I mean, obviously recovery bound, blah, 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 blah. But as we were sort of coming through to this period here, we identified it pretty much as just a consolidation period, and said, look, once we get this breakout here, retest, boom, on our way. That's fine. Look, we've covered all that. It's moved up here. More recently, what I want to cover is the fact that sort of obviously kissed into this band again, because this is, I think, is a great structural sort of showcase of sort of, yeah, how these things can play out. You've got your big high time frame resistance, which is put in by an all-time high. First time back to it, it kisses it. It doesn't go through. This is the thing, like when you've got these sort of resistance things and it comes back to it, it's not gonna go through the first time. You know what I mean? And we saw this, bang, sold back down, came down $55, and chug along the way here. More to the point, I want to sort of highlight this part here because this was what we saw last week. Well, end of through the second half of last week, obviously Monday session, bang, bang. But structurally, this worked beautifully because we got the breakout, consolidated around the top side here of it here. And then this is what I was saying at the time. If you go back and watch the videos, and I was even saying this to a mate while we are trading in that, like it's different to other times where we've hit all-time highs and it's gone up and then quickly sold down. And again, you got to sort of think it's not just okay. Well, this is what the coloured squares on the screen are telling me. I mean, the bars on the chart there. But what does it actually mean? Like, how do you decipher what's actually happening with the chart and what is that telling you? Because it sounds a bit sort of poxy in that when you're like it's telling you a story. But the only people that think it sounds poxy are the people that have no idea. And I'm sorry, but that's just how it is. And when you see these things move right up here and they fire straight back down, well, it's people sort of going, yep, that's enough for me. I'm going to take my profit, take my profit, take my profit, and they're pushing it down here. There's other people that are going, look, you know what? We've had pretty good sort of areas of sort of shorting from in this band here previously. We're going to short it and bang, and that drives it down as well. So that's when you see these fast shoot up and then straight back down. I know I reference this one a lot, but prime example of this is going back. I mean, look at this sort of moves up through here, come down here, this move up here, straight up the top, boom, straight back down, resulting move coming down 150. But this is the main one that I want to sort of point out, which I always reference this because this was such a hectic sort of morning. I mean, this is going back December 23. So, quite a while ago now, sort of like 13, 14 months or so. But this one here is a prime example of goes up, bang, straight back down, and then sells down and continues moving down. Obviously, over time, it came back up and moved through it, but even the same sort of example here, as it comes back up to this zone, doesn't go through first time. Comes back down, doesn't go through. But see how deep, how sort of shallow this pullback was? This is the same sort of thing. Up through here, big spike, okay, that gets smashed down. Second time touching it, they're shorting it again. Third time touching it, look at how shallow the pullback was there. And then obviously that's because the buyers were just pushing and driving things higher. So if we get back to where we're at now, you can see the same. Sold back down. This time only sold back down $50. And then bang, it broke through. Point with this is that sort of like, they didn't sell it down as soon as it made that new high. I think this was a big tell with it all because we knew the buyers were sitting here. And as it sort of broke up a little bit higher, we had that sort of stuff around on end of Friday, the sort of fake headlines and all this kind of stuff going back and forth, Monday's session. But really, all this did was provide us with a back test. So you've got your breakout, you got your back test, and then subsequent higher high. And this is the signal to sort of really run this one up here. And obviously, consolidate, move up, boom, consolidate, move up. So near that first sort of target here, I do think because this is kind of like the sort of rising resistance, I think this is going to sort of possibly even provide us with a little bit of a move up high here. I think we could potentially see another leg up over here. We do have a shorter sort of resistance inside this channel here, which could sort of see things sort of roll over a little bit around, sort of consolidate around these highs perhaps. We'll have to sort of see how things go when sort of DXY comes online, China sort of comes online, and we see what kind of sort of movement we get there. But certainly at the moment, very, very bullish. I mean, if we look at this on the daily, there's a good sort of breakout, retest, and it's just ripping. RSI looks like he's happy to sort of tick on a little bit more. Generally, what you'll start to see the candles sort of small, go a little bit smaller before a turnaround. These are still quite stretched out. Nice candles here. Maybe a little bit of a back test to give us a bottom wick before moving a little bit higher. Look, I think 28.50 is what I've been calling for the short term. Obviously, I just moved that up a little bit higher a second ago. We got to 28.45, so very close to that sort of first original sort of price target there. But the main price target is still 29.15. And this is obviously based on this triangle through here. And a little bit more conservative on the triangle because some people, whoops, not that line. Some people may sort of drag that a little bit further and then sort of call that the triangle there. But to me, I want to at least have had one touch on either side of the triangle. So that's why I'm taking it from this point here. And again, look, it's a little bit more on the conservative side, but I'd rather take the profit and then have things sort of push back down than try and squeeze out the very last buck of the trade and then potentially miss the price target and then end up giving up a bit more as it sort of pulls back. So yeah, look, gold definitely ripping away at the moment. So if we get down to a smaller time frame so we can sort of see what's happening. As I said, look, through this session, let's start to put some little zones in here. You can see there's just a little support through here, nothing major. So, if this does give up, it's not the end of the world. But as you can see, coming into the end of the night, it's just consolidating near the highs. A break above 46 should see a little bit of a move. And quite frankly, this is kind of almost sort of what I'm looking at here. So this to be a bit of a flag here. Potentially in that. I mean, look, as I said, gold loves a good shakeout. So if it comes back down, if you get another option back down, so you need 29 for a retest at this level here, I'll be watching very closely to see if this holds. And if it holds, bang, to move back up. We do have a smaller sort of range, and this is actually the 4-hour range, a little bit lower, just down here. So if we have a look at this, pretty much this little zone through here is your 4-hour. So there are a couple of little levels. Should we break lower, these wicks down here, around 30 before a move up here. But I think sort of, yeah, 28.60 is kind of looking like a potential area. These kind of little flags here, I mean, it's quite a small little sort of consolidation here. I'd be surprised if this just breaks and goes up like this, particularly with how gold works. Gold generally will find itself a little range like this, do a little fake out, and then it'll move. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get a little bit of a shakeout before moving up here. But I do think I don't think this is the top, so to speak, in this little movement here. I think we may have another leg moving up here. Look, I'll flip across and may as well do silver at the same time. Silver smacked into price targets, actually sort of went through price targets. As you can see, they tried to sell this down as it sort of did push up into this area. that's fine. Again, look, I don't mind giving up a couple of cents or a couple of points, as long as you can hit the thing. I got out on 32. I actually got out sort of in the 90s, to be honest in that. But like as price moved to 32, this first candle here, it just kissed the top of it, and I was like, boom, okay, that's enough for me. Because as you can see, it did try and push through here, went to 32, sold down, and then obviously powered through a little bit more. So where it came to here is you can see, look, if we drag this back here, you can see the very tip of the wicks over here going back to December, so a couple of months ago. But I mean, if you've watched what I've been doing with silver through this whole period here, look, we've had the shakeouts. I said on when was it? I think was it Monday? Was this the 1 hour? So it may have been the Monday. Yeah, Monday. Yeah, just Monday. I said, look, 3,100 entries were in play. Obviously, it came down a little bit deeper than that with the back test, but the point was still the same. We got the breakout, we got the back test, and then moved up to price targets. So price target's been hit now. So there's actually a couple of price targets have been hit through this. I'll get onto China in a little bit as well, gold-silver ratio. And this is another thing to sort of just keep in mind with the gold and the silver, which I'll get to in 2 seconds actually. Let's just see if we can work out anything with this. Look, I'm holding off on silver for now. This thing could just sort of consolidate and run through here, but even structurally through here, I wouldn't be surprised if we do get a bit of a shake. Look, if we got to move back down to 3170s, 3180, I'd probably be keen to have another go to get this leg here, because remember, this is the leg that you want. This is your breakout, find resistance, come back, find support. Support generally be an area where we've seen the sellers before. So this is where we'd be looking for a re-entry. I mean, look, the RSI, this is on the 1 hour, so yeah, it's a bit lower time frame. But yeah, certainly if we sort of take out some of these wicks, I push back down to this area here, around sort of like, so, 3170 to 3180. It gives you a little thing. Is you're not buying the top. You're about 50 cents, half a buck off the highs at this stage. So at least you're not sort of buying the highs there. There's a good chance that people were shorting, and they just ripped it through this. If they get a chance to get out for minimize their losses, they're going to be closing their shorts on this pullback here, and that'll give us the energy to give us this push and this leg through here. This leg is going to be the vital one, because remember, this is the one that will give us either, a lower high where we can say, okay, it's going to come back a bit deeper. It'll give us a double top where we could potentially be looking for a range, or it's going to give us a higher high where we can sort of continue moving higher. But this leg generally, 98 out of 100 times will come. You don't often get one push up and then one push back down. For instance, with these highs through here, you get a high, pulls back, tries to go through, no, it didn't work, failed to go through for a higher high, so they ripped it back and they took out the lows. Another go, tried to go through again, didn't get it, boom, ripped out the lows even further, and then back up. This particular setup here, if you look at this, is very common with silver as well. It loves to do these breaks. So it's kind of like it finds itself a nice line, and it'll get deeper and deeper and deeper each time, till obviously this one it didn't, and it just sort of fired back off here. But if you go back through silver, it very much loves these kind of moves. It's got itself a nice little line here, comes back deeper, through the line, comes back deeper, bang, push up through here. There's a number of, probably a number of examples. I've sort of cleared my charts and that, but certainly we've sort of found this a lot of times with silver in the past. So almost a little bit of this one through here. This finds a line. I mean, yeah, we did have a little poke out the top of these ones here, but more or less this is your level that you wanted to get above. Deeper, 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 bang, pops through. So, again, this is why sort of only trading a few either pairs, currencies, whatever, metals, just a few markets is important in my opinion, because you know, you start to pick up these little things that they do time and time again. And when you start to identify these things, that's when you've got better assurity on how to sort of trade them. But this is a very common reoccurring setup, particularly with silver. So where we are here. So look, technically it's yeah, it's tipped out the top. That's fine. We saw that sell off and that. It's in a little bit of a back test. So the question at the moment is like, we had this as a little bit of a range up the top over here. Put it on 4 hour mode so to show it a bit better. Um, is it going to hold this area and move here through? The RSI says, look, it could sort of definitely move a little bit further. Just depends if they want to shake it or not. They've done a lot of shaking prior to this, and this is another thing as well. Same, if we just flip back to gold for 1 second, if you're waiting for like little shakeouts, well, this moment here was your shakeout. This moment here was your shakeout. So, it's more likely that, you're going to see a range form and then the shakeout and then the go and then the sort of rip. But, occasionally these things, they've done the shakeout, they've done the fake out, they've done the market gets wise to it and they'll just rip things up. And then, eventually they'll do a shakeout, excuse me, and it won't come back. And it'll actually be the sell, which comes down, which, very much these kind of periods up here. This little shakeout and then bang, dropped all the way down. Anyway, keep on moving on. So if we have a look where we are at the moment, how far back are we here? Ah, wrong chart. This is the chart we're on now. All right, cool. So yeah, it's pretty much it's in a little bit of a sort of pullback area here at the moment. Look, I think if we go back down to 32, as I said, around that sort of 70 to 80 period over here, I think this is probably your safer bet of your entry for silver longs. I'm not keen to short this thing here, but I'd give it a shot from these levels down here. Flip around, we've got Aussie finally sort of coming back off of these lows. Look, at really this recovery here. I have to admit, look, I've said it each day. I don't care. I got smashed with a couple of positions through this period here. I thought that the deal may have come a little bit quicker. I didn't think that they were going to play it out, but I think that's almost the cliche thing with these things. Is sort of like if you don't think it's going to happen, that's when it does happen. So yeah, got smacked out of these things, but making back bits and pieces and that on this sort of recovery move through here. So yesterday we had a little bit of a resistance sort of forming around this sort of 15 period. Where was it here? Resistance here. Yeah, so we got the big recovery here. So covering this on, I don't know if I covered this essay, but like this was the recovery, and just to sort of give the emphasis to what's happening with tariffs. This move here, which is for some reason not on that time frame. This move, sorry, no, it's pinpoint. Yeah, that's right. So this move here, and then this move subsequently, this move here are your tariff moves. So we had sort of Mexico sign a deal, or commit to a deal, whatever, 30 days, 10,000 troops. We had Canada jump on board, and you could see how much Aussie loves this stuff to recover. We had the shakeout yesterday. I would have liked to have maximized this, but obviously it didn't quite. If you watched the video yesterday, I said, look, underneath this, where was it? I think under '05. I think I said, yeah, so underneath 62.05, 61.70 was going to get the touch up, and as you can see, pretty much to the point down here, and then market just said, yep, that's good for us, and they ripped it back up over here. This point and this move down through here was due to China and US not kind of making a deal yet, and the deadline's passed, and there's all this kind of sort of stuff, and that's fine. I mean, look, I think it's still Chinese, or I think it may be over now, but at the point at the time and thing, I think it was still Chinese New Year. Nothing had been resolved. I don't think, they're happy to play ball, but I think, they probably take that thing pretty seriously. so not conduct sort of business through that period. However, the market didn't really buy it. They didn't really buy the idea that, oh, hold on, wait, remember we had this stuff back last week? Oh, look, it's been pushed off. No, it hasn't. There's a lot of bullshit games that have been played through this period here, particularly. And I think the market had just said, look, that's fine. Yeah, yeah, that's great. They haven't made a deal, whatever. We don't care. And look at the recovery. Like, as I said, once it sort of gave through, it actually tested down under here, but once it went, it just went boom. This was just towards the end of ASX sort of close, and it sort of went down to this 70 level here. Recovery, bang, all the way back up here, and then obviously just started to pick up steam. And this was that period also around that 15 was a bit of a resistance. Once we went through this, bang, it just picked up, and ran up to the highs there. So look, came back up here, tested. Same with those highs from Friday night after the dodgy headlines before they got debunked, and then it got smacked back down. So yeah, it's come back up here, testing this level where we know that sellers have liked to cap it previously. Um, Put this through here, and it can say it's just testing above, testing above. So look, it's consolidating up underneath this little resistance here. This is what I mean is in, I think the market, well, I mean, look, this could be the famous last words, and we could see this thing go back down to 62.16. But at the moment, it is building a little bit of an ascending triangle. What I'm going to, update that and say that's your breakout move. We've got a little bit of a zone through here, but it's a bit choppy. I mean, this is on a 30 minute, so put it on a 4 hour. You can see the body fill, as I've said with these things a number of times, body fills are a great target for big candle moves down. So see, we've got a big one that's come down here. So should you break up through this period here, you may see a little bit of resistance through this period. Whoop, through through here. But I'd say this body fill would be your price target to be looking for. Yeah. Should we break up through here? At the moment, certainly not looking like this one wants to go through. Looks like it's completed this. 3 wicks with a lower high, just coming down the bottom over here. We'll have to sort of see how things pan out soon. But on a lower sort of time frame, it does look like it wants to sort of potentially make a little rising, ascending triangle. But of course, above 62.60, that's when we're going to know that it's actually moving higher. At the moment, I have to admit, this immediate candle's not looking too healthy, as I sort of say that, with the RSI sort of tipping down here a little bit as well. I don't think, actually, in that point, I'll just have a quick look. Do we have any data out at the moment? No Aussie data. We had employment this morning from New Zealand, didn't we? Pretty much online. Yep. While I do, actually, no, look, I'll get back to this US data and that in a moment because this came in overnight a little bit weaker. So yeah, look, in the immediate, this I have to admit, yes, this candle setup is looking a little bit sort of negative, as in it wants to sort of maybe pull back here a little bit more. Though I just think that this recovery move has been quite substantial. Particularly, again, look, I said the other day, watch out on the weekend. I said, watch out for tariff reduction headlines, and that's what I was talking about. These moves here. This is, as I said, Mexico, Canada, bang. If we hear something like they've struck a deal with China, that's where we'll see it move up. If we see that these tariffs are coming further into effect, so as it is at the moment, I believe is that sort of it's 10% tariffs both ways, as in the US has put a 10% tariff on some Chinese products and Chinese have fired back with 10% on some of their products. Um, as to sort of how much this actually is affecting things, I don't really know because, of course, the tariffs are always there. So it's not sort of like, oh, this is a whole wow out of the blue kind of thing. I think the fact that they haven't sort of spoken, I think is the only thing that sort of holds things back at the moment because, of course, if they do have a conversation and the conversation goes poorly and they don't come to a resolution, that's when you'll see Aussie break back down. Of course, China being sort of Australia's biggest sort of trade partner, we're very susceptible to any sort of damage done to them. And I think this is an interesting thing because there's so much back and forth about trade about sort of tariffs and that at the moment. Because a lot of people sort of go out there and they're like, oh, we've got to make China pay, and then sort of like, you got the other, you got the other side of people that think it's like the silver bullet to go like, you know what? It's actually the American consumer who's going to pay, and it's just like, well, no shit. But that's the whole point of it. Like, it's sort of like it's regardless of sort of like, who's going to pay. The point of it is to get that sort of actual higher cost associated with products from another country. So the idea or the end game there is to either have people buy American products or to then sort of, bigger picture, because this won't happen overnight, force these sort of other countries or, sorry, other companies to move some sort of form of production over to the US. So then, obviously, if it's made in the US, then it's not subject to the import tariffs. So it's not sort of like a silver bullet to go like, you know what? It's actually the consumer. Of course, it's the fucking consumer that pays it. But like the point is that it doesn't make their product so appealing. And I think that's where people sort of miss the point with a lot of this stuff and what they're trying to sort of achieve with it all. Whether it's the right way to go about it or not, well, that's a different sort of argument. But actually understanding what's happening with it, I think, is what a lot of the people that you hear talking about it just don't have a clue about. So look, we'll see what happens with China. I think they'll sort of work things out. As I've said a couple of times, the conversations that they've had seem pretty good. I don't see them blowing it up over, a couple of small bits and pieces. Like, as I said, at the moment, the stuff's mainly about the fentanyl. Not sort of the illegal immigrants coming in with Canada and Mexico, but with China, I think it's more just the fentanyl and getting them to sort of act on that kind of stuff. Because I think a lot of the sort of precursor stuff or whatever sort of comes out of China. So if they can commit themselves even on paper to saying, yeah, we're going to do something, I think that keeps everybody happy. I think that keeps tariffs at bay, and we see things chug on a little bit further. Obviously, the downside of that is if for whatever reason they go, nah, we're not going to do anything, which seems a bit stupid, because China's not in the same position they were in 2016. I say the same thing pretty much every day, but they're not as on a strong trajectory as they were in 2016. They were doing this. They were going like that. They're now sort of going here and then like this. They've pulled back a little bit. This is where they were going on 2016. People were like, "Oh my God, it's China at this rate is going to overtake the US," and they were firing. They were on fire. Admittedly, look, probably their numbers are a little bit dodgy, as we know. You can't really trust the Chinese data that comes out, but the point is, this is where they were in 2016. They could have a little bit of, balls to sort of to play hardball and make their yuan weaker and sort of like use that to combat any sort of tariffs and all this kind of stuff. They got smacked. They got humbled, and this is where they're at this time. They're still moving up, but they're in a little bit of a sort of consolidation sideways thing. If they go hard now, this will happen. Bang, it'll pull right back. So I don't think they're going to sort of play as hardball, and this is also proven by the fact that in the last week or so, they've come out and said that they're not going to let the yuan sort of depreciate. They're not going to play those dirty tactics to get around the tariffs by artificially weakening their currency. That means that they're sort of more willing to play ball this time, in my opinion, anyway. So I would be surprised if they don't come to any sort of deal. But again, look, if they don't come to a deal, Aussie's going to be moving down. If they do come to some sort of positive talk and positive resolution, even if it's just a sort of temporary, hey, 30 days, 60 days, whatever, that'll be seen as positive and we'll see the move up over here. So once we do get that move up, obviously, look, as I said, around sort of 62.70s, you might see a little bit of a reaction, but price target will be 62.90s. So another 40 points to the top side here. Should we get a break of 62.63 kind of thing. So we'll call that as your little breakout line to move back up over here. Major breakouts, of course, 63.30s. But look, let's deal with that when we get to there. We got to hit these levels and get through these levels first. And particularly now, that's not looking like it wants to super roll. So maybe have a little bit of a chilling out before things sort of start to move on. But certainly top side above 62.60. I'll be looking for 62.90s. Move along, and DXY. This is the one that's really sort of been driving things. Like we saw, obviously the big gap up on Monday. This is just a beautiful play of technical analysis, whatever. Beautiful, respecting the chart to the T. This big channel have been ripping off since that their 50% base cut, which is obviously just a joke that it happened, and then look at the reaction afterwards. Ripping to the top side here. Came up, we had this wedge start to form. This retest here, I put the post on X as this hit here because this just came in and it's just been meltdown since. We saw there, we saw a little bit of bounce up yesterday, respected these previous levels that we had marked out and sold down again. So if we get onto the lower time frame, we can see this has just been taking whack after whack after whack, and it's really just back down into this big chop range. This is what I was saying yesterday. This is where we're kind of targeting. I thought we would have sort of come down here a little bit quicker, but just a little bit down here. Obviously, you had a little bit of a spike up here first off that. So it was coming down a little bit, just dribbled through Asia. Asia has been quite quiet all around a little bit here, but this move up here was that sort of move towards the China deadline. It didn't get hit and pushed up here. And this is what I was saying, like, so China deadline didn't get hit at 4 o'clock. It fired up here. Have a look at this on a low time frame, because this is what I sent to a mate. I was at the gym at the time, and I saw this, and it went bang like this, and it just went up here and just sat. So knee-jerk reaction. Market goes, oh, hold on, wait. Trade deal didn't go through. Trade wars, blah, blah, blah. Market reaction, algos, whatever, goes bang, shoots it up like this. And they go, and I said to him at the time, I said, look, follow through here is what counts. Because you got the knee-jerk reaction, that's fine. We know that the market's going to react like this. Tariffs good, US dollar down, Aussie up, yada yada. Tariffs bad, Aussie down, US dollar up. We know that that's the reaction. We know that that's what to expect. And here, you see that perfectly happen. Though it goes up and just sits here. And as I said, I was at the gym, I was looking at it, I'm like, look, follow through is what counts. If we see this go up here, because this is an initial reaction, if we see this go chum, chum, chum up here, okay, well, look, we're going back higher and we've got our targets up over there. But of course, it didn't, got the knee-jerk reaction and they sold into it, consolidated, sold into it, and sold into it, and sold into it, all the way down through here. And it absolutely got, a little bit of a smash. Obviously, it's on a 5-minute thing, but really you can see this sell-off down through here last night as well. So this was around, actually it was a little bit close, it was about 2 o'clock. So it's actually at this, all the way down here. So it already taken out the lows. Look, closed the gap. This is a good thing with gaps as well. That's your gap through here. You ever take a center? Actually, that's probably right on, because as that candle closes there. Anyway, whatever. We're literally splitting half a point there. Close the gap. Market reacts. You know this is going to happen, like with gaps. So 9 out of 10 times, if DXY has a gap, it'll close it within the session. If it doesn't close it within the session, then it's probably going to stay open for at least a week or so, which we kind of saw with this one here. Big gap, didn't close it in the session, and it just kept on and held it, bang. Didn't fully close that gap, but close enough, good enough. A couple of points here. What is it? 49 to 45, so 3 points or something. Anyway, point being is 9 out of 10 times, if it doesn't close the gap straight away, it'll close it towards the end of Euro session, towards the start of US session. And we saw this move come down here, 8:30 last night, close the gap, market reacts. We know that this is how gaps work. Once they close, they're a magnet to close. Once they close, that's a target for people. Close your shorts, whatever, boom. People have another shot, buy it up, whatever they do. Coming through the second time, this is the key one. And obviously, this is what I say with these things. You got to have that second leg. So you go down, find your support, that's fine. Buy up, find your resistance. This is the important leg here. Because this is the one, as I said, double bottom, higher low. No, this one went lower low. And it went lower, 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 low. Bang, right down here. So that was obviously the key just at this point, just here, 108.42. So look, it came down here, and then on top of that, we had Jolt's numbers out last night, which was a decent miss to the downside. We also had another bit of data, which were the factory orders. So it's not flagged as a high, you know, high level, high impact sort of bit of data here, but it is another little piece of the puzzle that you put in. So, you know, you look at these sort of things, and Jolts is like, you know, it's a decent bit of data in that. It's not right up there, but, you know, maybe third tier kind of sort of bits of data, something to plug in, certainly. And as you can see, you know, 8.16 jobs last month, expecting a little bit of a slowdown, and got quite a significant slowdown. It's 400,000 jobs less, or 460,000 jobs less than last month. Now, you got to unpack that. What does it mean? So, like, you know, the jobs aren't being advertised. Well, you're not advertising. If things are going good and we're going to be busy next month, I'm going to need more people. That's one side of it. Well, the opposite side of that is like, well, let's just work with what we got. We can't afford to take on too many more people at the moment. Things are a little bit rocky. Things are a little bit risky. We're having trouble paying the people that we've already got at the moment. Let's just hold off on doing any hiring till we know things are a little bit better. So less jobs available. Less jobs available. Okay, well, we just sort of built out why people may be doing that. So it's a little bit more in the camp of weak economic data, and factory orders down, weak economic data. If you watch what I've been saying the last couple of days, what we needed to get this big sell down with DXY was the weak US data, because US or DXY has been held up with two things mainly at the moment: tariff talk, as obviously we just covered, and also of sort of like US data exceptionalism, I think is the term that sort of gets thrown around with it. And basically sort of that sort of saying that despite all things going on, they've still got a healthy economy and they're still, you know, chugging forward. And look, maybe they are, but these kind of little cracks that you're seeing here are saying something a little bit contrary to that. I mean, are always going to slow down and turn around eventually. So our job is to sort of like identify that point when these things start to happen. Because if things are slowing down, it means that the economy, Fed, can't keep hammering and holding rates high for longer. And, you know, because it's starting to have an impact, because it's the balancing act. It's about balancing recession with balancing inflation. The tariff stuff is going to make things cost more for the consumer. That's why people have a fear of inflation spiking back up. That's why US dollar moves when you see that sort of stuff happening, and vice versa for when you see it not happening. US dollar strong US data means that the Fed doesn't need to act so much, because you know what, inflation's down or relatively low, and the job markets and the production and all this kind of stuff still strong. You know, we don't need to give them a helping hand. Now that we start to see a couple of little numbers, and we've got NFP, which is the big one for the end of the week. If we see low numbers on that, US dollar is going to sell off again, because it means that sort of the Fed can't continue to sort of tighten the screws. They've got to start talking about, well, what can we do to not to change the trajectory of everything slowing down, because the recession is the other side of the inflation sort of debate discussion. You know what I mean? If it's going sort of down, 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 then you fear running into recession. So they can sort of, you know, release the pressure, so to speak, and lower the rates a little bit. And if they can do that, well, that's when you obviously lower rates, lower yields, and lower yield, and prices will come down, or the value of the currency will come down a little bit. So that's sort of partly the reason that we sort of saw this continued sell-off down here. So now, look, anyway, that's the sort of fundamental side of it all. As I said, we've got ADP coming up, we've got NFP at the end of the week. These are the kind of things to watch out for. This is the level that I was targeting, as I said yesterday. I think this is going to be an interesting area here. It obviously is starting to grind a little bit into the close here. Oversold as well. We could see a little bit of a push up from here. I'm thinking potentially, if anything, maybe a little bit of a push down into this zone, and then we see this move happen here. And then we sort of work out, are we going to get that push back down here? I think it's most likely that you get a little fast move to the downside here, a little pop up. As I said, you can maybe see gold, you can see Aussie pop up above these levels a little bit, and then sort of see US dollar have another go here. Because, as you can see, as much as this is coming down and all these kind of things are coming into play, if we fall back onto the technicals, you can see the market loves to buy it here. They held it here a number of times just before this big push up over here. So I think this level here is going to be crucial. And I'm probably looking at something like this. So maybe a little bit more sort of US dollar weakness, pop up those things, drag in some more people, and then rip it up the other side. Then look for a resistance, back up around these kind of levels over here. And sort of see some move down back to test this level at the low here. And potentially we move into another little range like this, moving in towards NFP at the end of the week. It is a little bit oversold, so you know what I mean. I would say down, down, and then this starts to move back up, and then we'll sort of see how that goes from there. That's pretty much how I'm going to be playing that. Copper came back up to the top here, so we came up, tested the top side here. Hasn't fully sort of come back down to this level as of yet. So look, you can see this is where the sellers were, sellers were, sellers were. They tried to shake it from here, and then obviously with all the metals and everything popped up and took out the top over there. This is ticking on 42 minutes. So look, again, look at where have the sellers been? Body fills. These are the kind of things that we look for. So sellers have been here, sellers have been here. I don't think this is a major enough level because we've only really got the one touch up here where it tried to get above and got smacked back down. I don't think this is a major enough level to sort of really see a full turnaround. We are a little bit overbought here. Move this out of the way. We are a little bit overbought here. And technically, I guess this may become your sort of swing high. We had a little bit of this wedge sort of forming through here. Certainly take out these wicks over to here to the left. It's just clean sailing straight up here, back up to sort of like 4.7 or so. But I would say that pretty much, even though this is overbought, I think the momentum's on its side, and we could be looking towards 447. So this is my price target moving forward here. I haven't got that already written in there. Look, even if it does get that, it really just takes us to the top side of this sort of potential range, even though the bottom here got blown out a little bit. But as we've seen with the other things, it doesn't break through the first time. So even if it does get a rip, depending whether it comes back and moves up here or just runs straight out here, got a bit of data out. I imagine this is an area where we're going to see sellers step back in again. And then you watch to see how deep the pullback is. They've obviously sold it down hard here. If they sell it down hard here again, well, on with the range. If they sell it down and then buyers sort of move up their bid to a higher bid, and over here we see it only pull back a little bit and have another go, that's the time when we see a shallow pullback here. If we see buyers, say around this point here, we see something like this happen, that's the time to sort of get ready for a bigger breakout. Flip across, we've got China. This is one I was saying, sort of like, hit that gap, gap, gaps through and hit that sort of price target on Monday, inverted head and shoulders. Market said, yep, that's good for us. Let's sell it down, boof. And as you can see, just really just melting down, same as DXY here. Wicks came down, very same level as that little shake just on Friday. Obviously sort of finished quite strong. after all that stuff with all the tariff talk and everything. Really consolidating this pullback here a bit at the moment. It's a bit back in sort of no man's land. This was, you got to respect the fact that it did flare up here, but again, that's just the underside of that rising support. It's tipped that now. Confluence came into play, price targets hit, and it sold back down over here. I'll be looking to see if we get a sort of move down underneath these wicks for a bit of a continuation to the downside there, but I wouldn't be surprised if this finds some support through this zone. Um, that's where I'm kind of looking. If you get back above this, I would sort of kind of be looking, okay, maybe it's just going to consolidate a little bit more around the zone, but I would say most likely, yeah, consolidate here and then look for a continuation to move back down over this side. Just flip back across to Aussie real quickly because we're seeing that little push up here. As you can see, this is what I was saying at the start of the video. A little bit of a sort of triangle coming up here. Really, you want to see something to push back up over um, so 2060 before you get too excited about stuff. But you can see that this little triangle is kind of playing out here. We just need a little bit more volume coming in. Cool. All right, and just finally finish off with gold silver ratio because I'll put this one on XSO, which is a great sort of little indicator for gold and silver before they punched up. So we had this little break up here, and obviously this little zone we had in here provided a nice little back test. Came down here, and it was about around this point here. And as I said, look, this is the price target here. Come down and retest those supports. Came down here beautifully. If you're trading gold and silver, you need to really have this on your dial to sort of be like, okay, well, what's going to be happening here? Obviously, silver will outperform gold in a sort of metal sort of bull run. We're seeing gold push up here a little bit just as we speak, and this is where you're kind of going to see. Sorry, I just got a few things going on here, which I'm checking as well. Yes, so as this is moving down, generally you're going to see metals moving. Silver will generally sort of outperform a little bit here. And we saw this yesterday with that little punch up with silver. So this is the hour that we got that little solid breakthrough. I've already covered this. All right, cool. So that is that. We got news through the rest of the day. Not a great deal here. No Aussie data. Got a bit of China data coming out. This Caxton, they seem to split these ones up, I suppose. But yeah, these came out a little bit weaker the other day. It must have been the manufacturing. So we've got services today, looking to be mainly flat. This is in and just over an hour's time. Apart from that, nothing coming through here. We've got ADP. ADP looking to sort of tick up a little bit. And then we've got ISM data actually tonight as well. And this is looking again pretty flat, but what we're kind of looking for are weaker numbers. Weaker numbers are going to sort of add to that whole idea of metal sort of moving down a little bit. Just have a quick look at gold as this moves through. And we're seeing a little bit of a push up early on gold here and try for that little breakout. So if we see this sort of move continue, then yeah, I think we're looking at 28.64. Should this just go up here and then sell back down, this is going to be what will be a sort of little fake breakout, and then watch out for the moves back down to sort of 28.30s. All right, that's it from me.